Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess. This is my second time recording this video. I hope you can hear me. I thought my cold had gone away, and it has for the most part, but my voice and my throat are still acting a fool. Took a COVID test just in case it is negative. Anywho, so I hope you bear with me because I didn't feel like hooking on my microphone. I know that's lazy, but I need to re-record this video. It is 1:11. I have to start something at 1:30. Okay, so I'm trying to be succinct here. And the first time I recorded this video and edited it, it was 50 minutes, and I was like, this is absurd. This is ridiculous. And then I tried to edit it down and it just felt really choppy. So I'm going to try to make this more coherent. And really just talk about the things that the main thing I want to talk about. So obviously I'm talking about Spare. Nigel, lay down. The memoir from Prince Harry that everyone knows about. Like, I feel like in my video I rambled on about stuff. If you know about the royal family, then you would know all of that. So I'm just gonna briefly give you an overview of the book. If you want more thoughts, more well-rounded thoughts, there's so many people who've been reading this book. I'll link a few reviews down below, but I am going to focus on like one specific thing that kind of encompasses some other things. So Spare is broken into 3 parts. I listened to the audiobook. Something that annoyed me was that each 3 parts had like 80 chapters, and I love a short chapter, but it seemed like the chapter would end and it would be really abrupt and the next chapter didn't necessarily continue that story, so that bothered me. The first part is about like his youth and losing his mother, which was my favorite part. I know that sounds weird, but it felt the most authentic. I have known of the royals since before Diana passed, and like always, I think just like the whole world thought she was beautiful, she radiated light. And so of course he talks about losing his mother and how he dealt with that, and I really felt like really connected to him in that part, really invested, and I did learn some more things about how he dealt with that of course I didn't know before. Also, side note, it really bothers me that he goes by Prince Harry, but his name is Henry. And for this whole time I thought his name was Harold. And he even in the book says that his brother and his dad, like he'll be, saying a conversation and they say Harold. And I'm like, why are they calling you Harold if your name is Henry? Like, I don't like it. Anyway. So that's the first part. The second part focuses mostly on like his military career, but also like, he's dating, partying, stuff like that. The third part is really about meeting Meghan and forward. So like I said, I connected the most with the first part. I really was disinterested in the military part, but there was still some interesting things, seeing things that were put into the media, what really happened, or at least his account of what happened, seeing different things that were happening behind the scenes with him and his brother's relationship, him and his dad, viewing how he viewed Charles and Camilla and so forth, and still dealing with losing his mom at such a young age. My main thing that I want to talk about in my video, which is mainly about Harry, but we'll touch on Meghan. And I just want to say, and I said this in my last video, that I've been a fan, okay? I got these Funko Pops. I have one of Kate and Will, too, and I think a single Harry one, and is there a Princess I want? I don't know. Anyway, so I've been a fan. I'm not like those people who have like hated Meghan since she came on the scene, think Harry is like, the insufferable royal Spare, blah, blah, blah. I've changed my battery. Okay, so Spare, he obviously is the Spare born after his brother who was born, and he's the first, and so he will be the king after Charles dies, obviously, and then his kids are in line before Harry. Going into this, I thought after all they had been through in the press, the treatment of him, the treatment of his mother, the treatment of Meghan, that this was going to be like, this is how they've treated me my whole life, as a Spare, as a backup, as, second-class citizen in my family. And now is the time for me to read them for filth. I hope that, and maybe I was naive or dumb to think that, but that's what I hoped, because they've been through some bullshit, especially in the last few years. And that is not what this is. So if you want some like scathing review or like scathing tea of the royals, you're not going to get that. I've seen some people's review and they really connect to the book, or like feel like they connected to Harry, and I'm glad. But if you're looking for like hot popping tea, just go on Twitter, because anything that was leaked on Twitter is like the most scandalizing parts of it. And that leads to my biggest problem with this entire thing, and how I feel now after having read that about my, I don't know if you want to call it parasocial, because we're not, we're not any kind of mutual, fascination or whatever with the royal family. So he talks about various things that happened over his life. Of course, every little thing was in the media. There was something like there was a Halloween party, or at least some kind of costume party, and he couldn't figure out a costume, and so ended up wearing like a swastika on his arm, and Will and Kate kind of laughed about it, and he ended up wearing that to the party that ended up in the press. But he like doesn't seem to take like responsibility for that, because yes, he was younger, but still, like, you were still like, you didn't think that would be a bad idea. And other things he said, like during his time serving, and things where I don't feel like I got enough like reflection and growth that he looks back on these things and realizes why they were wrong. And then coming into the part with Meghan, and I'm just gonna say, side note, I have to mention this. I rolled my eyes so hard when he first saw her on an Instagram story with a dog filter on her face. Or was it a Snapchat? I feel like the filter was only a Snapchat, but maybe it was on Instagram. And that he could tell all these things from her, and like goes on this soliloquy about her and the most beautiful person in the world. And oh my God, is she gonna be the woman I marry, from a picture on Instagram with a dog filter? Not just a picture, with a dog filter. I was like, okay, whatever. Anyway, y'all know all the history. He married Meghan. The press has been ruthless. They have 2 children. It's been a mess. So obviously Harry is white. He is part of the monarchy in the United Kingdom, which I don't know, half of them as cousins or whatever. Like they don't stray too far from the family line. And Meghan Markle is an American woman who, I look at Meghan, I'm like, that's a black woman. Meghan herself has referred to herself, this is in the interview she did with Oprah, she referred to herself as a woman of color. That comes into this equation. So, but you have this outsider already, outside of the monarchy, outside of the UK, and she is part black. She's got melanin. Oh, you know there's going to be issues. But you and I know that. He and it seems like, obviously this is not her words, but it seems that Meghan also were confused why the press and the media were so nasty to her, but so lovely to Kate. And I'm like, how? I don't understand. But I don't know. I didn't know Meghan before she was dating Prince Harry, because I didn't watch Suits. I didn't know of her. She obviously, her mother's black, her father's white. I think she grew up mostly with her mother. And then, you know, she was acting, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't look like they lived that hard of a life. I don't know. I don't know her. She also, like, there are pictures from her in her youth with curly hair, but in her older now, she mostly straightens it. I don't see her wear her natural hair like that, or the pattern. She is a very light-skinned biracial woman, and obviously she's been acting. She has a lot of friends that are white. So I don't know if she's encountered as much racism as, say, a woman of a darker complexion would have. But again, I don't know her life. But if it is true that both she and Harry were confused why the media were treating her like this, I'm just like, how is that shocking? I don't get it. And all of the things that he goes through. So he goes through slights and disagreements and, you know, varying degrees of fucked up things that have happened to him over the course of his life by Charles, and then Charles and Camilla, William and Kate, the firm, or whatever, like that they would put so much shit in the media, and they have this firm, they have these lawyers to be like, hey, correct this. And he would go to them and ask them to take these things out, and they wouldn't do that. So they're sitting up here letting these people lie about you and not doing anything about it. And then y'all know the whole thing with him wanting to step back and, you know, do less or leave their titles behind. His biggest thing was, please let us keep our security, because security has been the biggest issue for them their entire relationship. They talk about how for their wedding, they had to have snipers on the rooftops because they got so many like terror threats. Like, it's disgusting. I will never downplay what they've gone through, especially Meghan. The British media, I thought TMZ was bad. The British media seems like they take the cake. They are awful. An abomination to journalism everywhere. So there's always been threats. Then they have their son Archie. Now they have Lilibet. But I think before this they hadn't had their daughter. So now you have your wife and your daughter. You've seen what happened to your mom in the past. You've heard about all these threats, and you just want to protect her, protect your sanity, and leave and just step back and do a little less, but still travel to England. And you're like, I don't care. Please just let us keep our security. I think they said something like the security was like $6 million a year or something. And he did have his inheritance from Diana, but he has specifically said that he is saving that for his kids. Obviously, Meghan has money from Suits, but I don't know how much money she has. And then there's been there was talk in the book about, how they were holding the purse strings from Harry, and he's had some broke struggle hard times. Maybe not like us, but anyway, so they have fled Canada, then they're in the US. Tyler Perry comes in to rescue them, to save the day. They're like trying to buy their own house. Before they get to California, they take your security, and not like, oh, we're gonna take your security in 2 weeks. Like, they just take your security and they're like, okay, we have to leave. They are leaving you vulnerable, and so you have to flee. And luckily this US mega billionaire dude allows you to stay in his mansion and use his security, in the meantime. Again, just adding to the tally of the fucked up shit your family, the firm, whomever have done to you and your new family, your nuclear family. He also mentions, so he does touch on, he does mention Prince Andrew, and was saying that Prince Andrew, with his embarrassing, with his embarrassing charges and accusations, still got to keep his security, but they didn't. And none of their alleged, issues or rumors against them involved sexual assault allegations. Very true. But I just was like, embarrassing. That's it. Prince Andrew, it's just embarrassing. Like, that's where there are no shots. I wanted shots fired. Okay, I want a cannon loaded up. Boom, 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 boom. Whole family. He's like, pew. You know what I'm saying? He will mention something, but he doesn't go deeper. I thought this was really the time. I wanted an expose. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, well, I'm glad you acknowledged it, and you're not condemning and you're not condoning it, but like, embarrassing. And yeah, no, he doesn't deserve security. He doesn't deserve anything because he's a disgusting, vile piece of shit. But just embarrassing. Like, I'm just, Another thing. So I finished this book and I was like, have I lost my mind? It's possible, this job really has taken a lot from me. But I like millions, billions maybe, watched the Oprah interview that Meghan and Harry did. And one of the things that came up in the interview was that someone in the royal family was asking basically, how dark baby Archie gonna be? Which is a dumb question to begin with, because look at Harry and look at Meghan. That baby was not gonna be dark, any stretch of the word. And you can look at her mama, like, come on. But so I was like, I thought this was going to be addressed in this, because they don't say who said that in the interview. So I was like, okay, he's definitely going to be in this book. So I go to look it up, right? Make sure I didn't miss it. And I find an interview, because of course he's been doing interviews. I haven't watched this interview, but I'm going to read some things from it for you. This is from the New Yorker. The quote, this is going back to Prince Andrew. He said, despite being involved in an embarrassing scandal is, to me, I don't know, being caught cheating. Being caught with your pants down. You know what I'm saying? Embarrassing. So the interviewer said to Harry, you accused members of your family of racism. And Harry says, no, I didn't. The British press said that. Harry said, did Meghan ever mention that they're racist? And then the interviewer said, she said there were troubling comments about Archie's skin color. And Harry replied, there was concern about his skin color. And so they go back, they're recapping the Oprah thing where Markle revealed the royal family had raised concerns with Prince Harry over the potential darkness of their son Archie. Oprah responded by asking the Duchess. They were concerned that if he were too brown, that would be a problem. Are you saying that? And Markle replied, if that's the assumption you're making, I think that feels like a pretty safe one, which was really hard to understand, right? So obviously that created a lot of drama where Prince William was like, we're not a racist family, blah, blah, blah. So during this interview, the host is like, well, hey, this is what you said. Harry said, you're right. The key word is concern, which was troubling. He said, but you speak to any other couple, mixed race couple around the world, and you will probably find the white side of the family have either openly discussed it or secretly discussed, what are the kids going to look like, he added. And that is a part of, a bigger conversation to be had. You think? He said that it was more unconscious bias than racism. The comment or concern about Archie's color, he said the difference between racism and unconscious bias, the two things are different. Once it's been acknowledged or pointed out to you as an individual, otherwise an institution, that you have unconscious bias, you therefore have an opportunity to learn and grow from that. Otherwise, unconscious bias then moves into the category of racism. And I'm just like, so they said that so much of what Harry said seemed to be conflicted and contradictory. And that is my problem. And I just want to make it clear, I'm not going to say that Harry or Meghan are liars. Excuse me. I just feel like Harry specifically doesn't want to like step on toes too much. Like obviously he did a little bit with this book, but he doesn't want to like lay it all bare and really take it where it needs to go. And that's my problem. I'm like, don't bring that shit up if you're not like, it's fine if you don't want to discuss things, you don't want to talk about your children, you don't want to, but like, why was that brought up in the interview? And then she let Oprah assume, she's like, well, if that's what you're assuming, that's what it seems, right? Okay. And then Harry, I'm sorry, I don't think any of us are thinking that it's their, who said it? Who said it? Because I'm feeling like it's Charles or William. And I don't know if that's unconscious bias or that's just straight up racism, but I'm leaning with the latter. I have no proof of that, obviously. But it's just, that was my whole issue with this thing, is all of these things, we make dumb mistakes throughout our entire life, right? Especially when you're younger. But I'm like, you are now 38, you have 2 children, you're married, you're reflecting on these things. I wanted some more accountability from him. And I wanted him to, like, really, he wants to protect his wife at all costs, keep these things from happening to her. For me, that final thing is, I'm gonna lay this all, you're coming out to speak your truth, valid. Y'all did the lawsuit against the media, valid. All of these things, step back, whatever, return titles, whatever the details of the thing are. But you still gonna, here, the thing that really pissed me off, but really sums up this book, at least how I experienced this book. Okay, Harry says, my problem has never been with the monarchy, nor the concept of monarchy. It has been with the press and the sick relationship that's evolved between it and the palace. I love my mother country, and I love my family, and I always will. I just wish that the second darkest moment of my life, they'd both been there for me. And that is what pissed me off. Like, I am so sorry. Literally, they were basically like, fuck you and your family. So fuck you and your wife and your child. We're going to take your security. Oh, well, if somebody comes for you, go on your way. And you're still like, I still love my family. I don't know if the man goes to therapy, but he needs it, because that would have been a big old fuck you for the rest of my life. And I don't know if he wants to keep these ties for like money purposes or whatever. Or I guess maybe for your kids to have their cousins or something. But what's the point? Why do you want them to have contact with family members who didn't give a shit about you or your wife? I don't get it. And obviously Archie and Lilibet really won't have issues, I guess, because they're a quarter black, very fair skinned. They probably will be. But to me, I just don't get that. And that was my issue, is that this whole thing, all of these things, you're now 38, and I guess I just had too much hope for him. No critique of the monarchy. His problem has never been with the monarchy, nor the concept of it. So then why even call this spare, talking about the second to be the heir? If you knew this is how it works, then why even, you got us with that title. I'll say that you got my ass. The press's relationship is sick and disgusting with the royal palace, with the family. But then realize also that royal family allowed them to spread lies and absolutely dog your wife. And they didn't do nothing about it. But yet, open arms. No, absolutely not. Obviously, I don't know these people, but it just made me mad, because had that been me, or that just be like, I don't know, I live in a small town or something, and my family is treating my husband like shit and reading him for filth in the local paper and spreading lies and blah, blah. Like, no, I'm not going to go back to these people. Like, if you're really we ride or die and you're my partner, you're my forever, I'm fighting for you. I'm not going to let these people continue to disrespect you and then go crawling back. Are you kidding? The last thing I'll say is that I feel like Prince Harry, with what seems to be their ignorance, like lack of awareness that it was racism, the reason they were so disgusting to Meghan and then to him, I feel like they've gotten past that now. They're doing their thing in California with their chickens and their babies. And I feel like his learning has probably come to an end. I don't think he needs to learn anything else. I know Ashley, I feel like in her review was talking about, there were comments about how him and William were saying, oh, like Africa's my thing. And like, I don't think he's come that far from that. I feel like he's obviously had to wake up and realize some things about the UK and like the world in general and how white people feel towards black people. But I don't think he needs, in my opinion, he has a lot of work to do, a lot of learning to do. And I don't think he's going to do that because there is no longer any motivation for him to do that. I don't think he needs to. And I feel like I was talking to my friend Robin about this, and she was like, people uphold like Harry and Meghan as like our champion interracial couple, and like they're not. One, those are rich people. They were never going to be for us, and still royalty or royalty adjacent. But also, I don't know if Meghan really considers herself a black woman. I don't know, like I know she's friends with like Serena Williams and Tyler Perry. I don't know in her regular life, does she have black friends? I'm not trying to say that she is like self-hating or whatever. I just don't know. I don't know Meghan, obviously, but I'm saying from what I see, what her and Harry are. Look, I understand. I go back to that picture of Harry looking at a black woman in Africa. Obviously, I'm married to a white. I get it. If you're like, oh yeah, I'm in a relationship, these are goals. But they're not, they're just a couple that's out there. They're these royal people and they've been in the everywhere. And so we've seen them, but they don't stand for anything for me. I don't look up to that, because if Andrew's family would like, obviously, because he can't commit to anything in this book, or actually like saying it with his full chest in this book. I feel like he whispers. But I'm just saying, if his family or whatever town he was from, his people in general, treated me like that, and we're gonna open arms go back, no, I'm done. I'm done. But obviously, I'm a regular broke person. Those are rich people, and looks like they're on the up and up. They've got interviews and documentaries and this book and stuff in production, and they are going to be fine. Money is just going to go up from here. But I'm over it. So yeah, that made me come to terms with my the royal fascination. It's time for me to move past that. And so I am. I would like to see pictures of their kids if they share them, because they're super cute. But past that, I'm over it. And I'm just really disappointed. But you know, that's what happens when you put hopes in rich white people. Yeah, that's kind of it, I think. I got out most of my feelings because that was my main focus. Like, there are other things and other takeaways, and again, I didn't feel like talking about those because it all leads back to this, where I feel like he did not do enough self-reflection, take enough self-accountability, and then he really didn't call out who need to be called out. And that's a shame. So that is it. Oh, also, I hope Meghan does not write a book. I want it to be done, and I don't want to sound like those people who, like, the really racist people are like, oh, they're out here just trying to get attention, because I understand wanting to like give your side, but I'm just saying, like, give your side, give the full thing. I don't know if this was called a tell-all, because it sure didn't tell all. It told some. And so I don't want no Meghan book either if it's just gonna be some little manila mess. I don't want it. I want them to enjoy their children, do their little charities, raise their chickens, which I'm very jealous of anyone who has chickens right now, because the price of eggs is ridiculous and I love eggs. And I know this isn't possible, but I don't want to hear any more from them. I don't want any more interviews. I don't want any more documentaries. I don't want any more things. Go be in peace. Go be rich. And I don't understand rich people who just can't go be rich in peace. If I was rich, you would never hear from me, because I would be busy doing things or napping. Like, what? But that's it. So if you read Spare, have thoughts, feelings, leave them down below. Thank you so thank you so much for making it this far. Like, subscribe if you want to. Stay blessed, hydrated, moisturized, and sunscreened, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.